Signs of the Southland, June 20th, 2021. Mr. Grant, is your local basketball team in a game seven, perchance?
I guess I did just finish my move to a permanent Atlanta address, so technically, yes.
Okay, well, see, this bit would have been better if I remembered that.
Yeah, the Bulls have not sniffed a game seven in quite some time. Maybe game seven of the preseason or the regular season. They did get to that.
Yeah, it'd be kind of funny if the play-in series was a seven-game series, and then you could make fun of them for that too, but they also didn't make a play-in spot. So
I'm about to derail this entire podcast by saying that the play-in is so dumb.
that is
So dumb.
a hot take. It's a
But
very hot take.
we could also talk about how the 12-team playoff does interesting things to the regular season for college football. But NBA,
Other podcasts.
you
We
have
have
30
other
teams.
podcasts.
You have 30 teams. 20 of them making the playoffs is an inherently crummy product. That's my take.
Look, MLS did this for years. Everyone complained about it, and then finally now they have enough teams to where it's not a majority of teams that make the playoffs. It
Didn't they
only
still
took
bump
like
up? Didn't they still get rid of buys too?
yes. Well, they kept the first. They gave the first overall seed in each conference a bye, but everyone else is still playing that first round.
But they
The
axed
the
the
important
home and
thing,
home, right?
yeah. The important thing is that they axe the actual home and away legs. It's not a two-leg playoff for each round anymore. It's just a one-off knockout.
Interesting. Well, just goes to show you what I know. I still think that it is very hard to beat college baseball, college basketball, and college softball in terms of excitement, and volleyball. Volleyball's chill. But, I mean, the NBA playoffs, this is the first time in, I don't know, since the Derrick Rose Bulls that I've actually been interested. And this is the first time I can remember being a casual fan and being like, oh, this is interesting. Maybe it's because the Hawks are in and I know enough people that are Hawks fans that I follow, but I don't know.
I mean, if you think about it, one of the reasons why the NBA playoffs are so interesting right now, and we could also probably do an episode about the 12-team playoff regarding this, but one of the reasons that the NBA playoffs are so interesting in these latter couple of rounds is that all of the teams that are currently involved have really not been in the finals or really gotten past this point. Um, I think the earliest or the latest championship out of what the five teams left is like 1961.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a while, and especially when you consider that the sport has been dominated by, or not the sport, but say that the league has been dominated by dynasties every decade. You're coming off of a stretch of repeated NBA finals with the Warriors and the Cavs, and then I mean it was for a while it was just LeBron and friends versus any Western Conference team, and then it was
And then,
LeBron and friends versus an Eastern Conference team for a change. So I think it adds to the drama. I think you have a level of involvement and investment because these are all smaller market teams for the
well, now
most
that
part. And I
Brooklyn's
realize that the
rivalry,
Clippers are one of them, but think about the Clippers market share in LA. It's not particularly large.
well, I mean, if you're talking a decade ago, it was basically nothing and they were hanging on by a thread, but they've been at least tangentially relevant, and we can unbox this on a different podcast, but they've been tangentially relevant for long enough that, it's at least something. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't think the city of Philly has an NBA title since the Warriors left for the West Coast, right?
I don't believe that they do. It is time to look up this Philadelphia 76ers Wikipedia page. Do, do, do.
The stats department. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
They do have a championship in '83.
Huh. I didn't even know.
So Yeah, so they have three titles, 55, 67, and 83. So 83 is probably well after the Warriors left.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the Warriors left before the Sixers got there. They were like Mets replacing the Giants kind of thing. Why did they just get? Why did they just tee up Trey? That's interesting.
I don't
Um,
know. My stream is behind.
wow.
So
Well, surprise. Somebody gets teed up because they're shooting a very lonely free throw. But I was going to say something else. We could
I hope you
probably
have a
do
segue here. I hope you have a
many
segue to our actual
episodes about
topics
the
here.
history of basketball and about modern sports, but we'll unbox the playoff and stuff like that at some point over the summer. I think we're kind of coasting on the remnants of 2020, 2021 at this point, right?
Yeah, and those remnants are basically awards, grade point average updates, and like some minor announcements.
Mm-hmm.
The thread here is very bare in terms of news. We're
Yeah.
really trying to squeeze all the juice out of this orange for what? There's only 2 weeks left in the NCAA year, the athletic year. So
At
doing a
some
lot
point,
of
we're going to have to actually start doing previews, and that'll be the light at the end of the tunnel for sports coming back, I guess. But that
it's
feels
like an
silly to say.
optimization thing, right? It's an
Yeah.
optimization. How long can you talk about the previous season before you have to talk about the next one? And how do you fill the space in between?
Yep. Exactly. What was I going to say? But in the meantime, we can coast off this a little bit longer. Generally, what do you have for us?
Wow, you really just used the header from the first section on the shot sheet, didn't you?
Yep, I did. Because I'm good at this.
Podcasting is a great business. Yeah, let's talk about the athletic program as a whole. I mentioned grade point average updates. I think this is probably the only podcast that would actually mention student athlete grade point averages, and that's mainly because of the institution that we cover. Tech student athletes averaged a 3.1 grade point average GPA during spring 2021, which matched their mark from fall 2020. That was also the sixth straight semester of a 3.0 mean GPA or higher, with 62% of student athletes netting an individual GPA of 3.0 or higher, and 52% with Dean's List or faculty honors. All of those numbers are courtesy of ramblinrec.com, TLDR, the Georgia Tech Athletic Association. Pretty good. I have no
Yep.
complaints.
I will say, if you heard me laugh in the middle of that, that was because Dwight Howard just accidentally leapfrogged over Trey Young, and it was funny. But yes, I agree. Again, like you mentioned, we very much care about this because we are nerds from nerd school, and it's very good to see them living up to kind of the reputation I'd say the school has writ large. This also increases the, I guess, traditionally women's swim and diving is either near or at the front of the GPA train, but this is definitely uh, a different year for us in terms of talking about them in particular. They kind of had their greatest year ever this year. Is that too bold to say?
I don't think so. I think in the press release from ramblinrec.com, they said something along those lines as well. But they also emphasized that it was both in the classroom and in the pool, because one of the items that they mentioned is women's swimming and diving had a 3.6 team GPA, which led all 13 of Tech's programs. They say
Yeah.
13. I assume they're counting some of these programs by as like a single unit, like the ones that have women's and men's teams. But you get the picture here.
Yeah. Because actually, I think the 13 is from combining the track and cross
Yeah, yeah,
country.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of best finish ever in the pool, granted, we know that that is off the the accolades of our two divers who went to NCAAs. But still, that is still a record finish is a record finish, and points are points. That's more than we can say about, the past there. So it's great to see that. And then, I mean, something's going right in terms of hitting the books. This is probably where I go, yeah, swimmers, we're just built different, or something stupid like that. But
Well, you just did say it, to be fair.
no, but I was like making fun of the fact that I would say it, so I feel like it's okay. I'm getting a spam call. Should I answer it in the middle of the podcast?
No. We have more things to talk about, especially about swimming, which was selected to host the 2022 ACC Swim and Dive Championships at Macaulay Aquatic Center. I like the idea of hosting these championships. I remember a couple years ago, Macaulay hosted the NCAAs, and they also hosted a U.S. pre-Olympic whole shindig. It was very fun.
Yeah.
All these things are very fun.
Well, see, the last time we hosted was 2016-17. And I don't know if you remember this, but it was interestingly wedged into the middle of the week between previously scheduled meets, because they had actually yoinked the meet out of Greensboro, because that was back during the North Carolina.
HB2.
Yep, the bathroom bill thing. So they were kind of like, uh-oh, we have an emergency. We already have Conference USA or whatever coming to town on the weekend. So it was a very busy couple of weeks at the pool. Spent a lot of time practicing in the leisure pool those couple weeks. But it's great to have big meets here. We host the U.S. Open. I believe they were trying to get it every year, but pre-pandemic, we had only hosted it 1 or 2 years in a row. Atlanta's been a stop on another one of the big meet series, is the
TYR.
The TYR Grand Prix now, but I'm used to it being the Arena Grand Prix, because both are swimwear sponsors, for those that don't know, and Arena had sponsored it for years and years, but now it's TYR, however you choose to say that. But yeah, no, Macaulay, I believe, gets NCAAs next year too. So I'm pretty sure the ACC logic is probably something along the lines of, if we have access to this pool that all of our teams are going to be swimming at for the big meet, why would we not give them another, hack at competing there? Wow, that was a loud call.
Yeah. So just to follow up,
right?
To follow up, it is for the men's championships. It will be in Macaulay. Well, I guess the men's and women's championships are effectively at the same time. But yeah, both of those are slated for 2022. So they'll get ACCs and then NCAAs. And basically, if you can make time, like you said, I think the point you're getting to is, if you can make a time in the ACCs, you're swimming in the exact same conditions at NCAAs.
Yep. And we kind of saw that this year too, with them essentially living in Greensboro for 5 weeks,
Mm-hmm. I will also note that they come back around to Macaulay again in 26.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's a joy too. I will say, I feel personally attacked by the NCAA giving it to us in 16 and 22, given that I spent 5 years at Tech, and it's bookended with 2 NCAAs.
Oh, you live here now. That's not a problem anymore.
We're working men, Akshay. We can't go to every sport, only just some of the sports.
It's on a weekend, probably. I don't know. It says March 23rd to 26th for the men, and March 16th through 19th for the women. I'm not in front of a calendar. I'm too lazy to actually look it up.
If for some reason Georgia Tech, I have no clue if this is actually just me talking out of my butt or not, but if they wind up hosting the CCS meet too, that's like 6 straight weekends of that place being packed. So
that sounds like revenue to me.
Yeah,
that sounds like revenue. At a certain point, money is money.
That doesn't go to the GTAA though.
The NCAA revenue would, but CCS would just go to CRC, right?
I think ACC goes to the CRC too, because the GTAA doesn't own the pool.
We'll see. I don't know how revenue is determined here.
I really should have prepared more for this bit because I don't know. I'm flying off the seat of my pants from just having been around for a while. If you catch my
Do you
drift.
want to be yanked? You want to be yanked off the stage and move on to a different bit here?
Yeah, we should probably do that.
Okay. Softball news. Emma Kauf played in 2 pre-Olympic exhibitions against Team USA as part of the Sugarland roster of Team Alliance for the USA Softball Stand Beside Her tour. All of those games were in Sugarland, Texas at Constellation Field, which hosts the AAA affiliate of the Houston Astros. Some more details on the actual tour itself. It's a 4-game set of exhibitions against Team Alliance, which is generally made up of collegiate and pro athletes from or supported by the Alliance Fast Pitch member leagues. Kauf was on the Sugarland roster along with people you may know, like Montana Fouts of Alabama, who threw a perfect game in the Women's College World Series, catcher Kayla Kowalik, and utility player Aaliyah Jordan. Kowalik is from Kentucky, and Aaliyah Jordan is from UCLA. Again, all those details are from ramblinrec.com. I have no idea where to find stats and information on these exhibitions, and I wish I had it because these exhibitions were this past weekend.
Oh, they were this weekend. They only announced this team like 3 days ago, at least on ramblinrec.com.
I think they were this weekend, and you can continue to vamp while I go find some stats.
I was going to say, well, top of the list, the fact that Olympics aren't guaranteed to be back in 2028, or softball and baseball aren't guaranteed to be back in the Olympics in 2028 drives me a little bit bonkers. And it's very fun to see them at least around for this year. But not only is Team USA doing stuff like this, but there's actually several other national teams currently barnstorming around America or playing in America or whatnot, because the travel organization my sister is a part of just played the Canadian national team like 2 weeks ago and got pounded because, national teams and whatnot. But, at least you're putting up a couple runs. But they're, I guess, doing this all as the warm-up, the prelude, the intro to Tokyo in a couple weeks. It's weird. I feel like it's been like, and because it has been forever since we've had an Olympics, but it has been quite a long time on this. Of course, shame on me. I didn't watch any of the swimming Olympic trials, but yeah.
Look,
have you had
Rio feels so close.
No? What's up?
I did pull up the actual dates, but I want to say one thing. Like, Rio feels like so close, but yet so far away. Rio was 2016. That's 5 years ago, 4 years before the actual original start date of the Tokyo Olympics, right?
Yeah.
But it's still the thing is 2016 to 2021, not much has changed. I mean, it depends on your metric of change, but like life, what we do on like a regular basis, not a lot of change. So it feels like it hasn't been that long.
What
other than the pandemic?
Man?
What?
You say we haven't changed that much.
I didn't say we. I said life.
We just got out of a 1.5 year long pandemic, or we're getting out of it.
Okay, I gave the caveat of the pandemic. My point is that it feels so. It's chronologically long ago, like mentally not so long ago. Is my point here.
All right, I'm about to completely take devil's avocado on this one. Rio 2016 perspective. This was before I got to college. This was 2 years before we started this podcast, of which we are now entering the 4th year of doing. Yeah, probably 6 months out before you and I even met. Let's see, what other stuff? There's been a global pandemic.
Do you want to make me feel not old? Can I just read out some of these scores?
No. I want to get a couple more of these in. I've been thinking them up.
Existential crisis. Come on.
The team Atlanta United did not exist yet. They had not played a game. I had another one. Shoot, what was it? Oh man, this is gonna bug me. But you get the point. Like that was Rio,
The
at
last one
least
was
for me.
probably the Cubs didn't have a World Series title.
Oh, yes, that was the last one. The Cubs had still not won a World Series in 108 years. I feel drastically different from Rio 2016.
Okay, well, you're missing the point of what I'm saying. Anyway, June 2019 or June 19th, 2021, Team USA played a doubleheader versus Team Alliance. USA won both games 1-0 and 4-1. They've not posted the scores for today's games yet. I assume they may be ongoing. It's not like I have any live stats in front of me, but now I'm going to look up the live streaming and see if it's actually going. It is not. That's sad.
Maybe
Okay,
they just haven't
let's
posted.
maybe that's probably it. Moving right along into women's tennis news, Victoria Flores was the recipient of the Arthur Ashe Leadership and Sportsmanship Award, so congrats to her. Women's tennis also signed Kylie Bilchev, who represents Great Britain internationally and is from Ipswich, England. She's a top 150 ITF junior in terms of ranking. Has a lot of international playing experience and a lot of trophies, accolades. If you look at the list that was provided at ramblingwreck.com, and if you need like a one sentence summary of her quality as a player, she's playing in the Wimbledon Juniors next month. So pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty much sums it up. I'm excited.
They'll be a good squad. I mean, you're talking about almost everyone from that squad coming back. Obviously, you're missing the two. Okay, I'm doing a really bad job of missing caveats. You have a lot of the young talent coming back. There's your adjusted statement. A lot of the young talent is coming back. You obviously do miss Flores and Jones to graduation. You lose them to graduation, but you still have a lot of quality in that depth. And now adding Bilchev, especially considering her resume so far as an international player, it's pretty good. It sets up very nicely, I think.
Yep, I would agree.
Also, I will point out that the photo used on the cover of the Everyday Champions magazine, the photo of the women's tennis team, is very heavily edited, and it just like very heavily like has a ton of filters overlaid on it, and it's an interesting look. I will say that.
Do you get
Graphic
sent,
design is someone's passion.
do you get sent that magazine? Because I have not seen that yet.
No, it's on ramblingwreck.com. I'm scrolling through in the background here.
I should check that out.
Wow. Just advertise a little bit more, why don't you?
Yeah, sure. I do my best. Got a shill for the Institute.
Moving on, talking about shilling for the Institute in terms of academics. In volleyball news, Maddie McKissock and Julia Bergmann made the All-ACC academic team for volleyball. And then on the golf side of things, Connor Howe was named to the All-ACC academic team as well.
Yeah, good for them. Congrats. We like smarts. We like seeing success. And the three of them also had fantastic seasons as well. So definitely.
True. Like we said, there was a lot of awards and teams and just a lot of news items, more so than actual like things to dig in and talk about this week. And men's basketball is no different. Moses Wright was invited to the NBA Combine that was announced earlier this week, and Jose Alvarado is now in G League. I think it's a preseason camp. So we did get the news last week of Michael DeVoe staying on campus, but I think with this news of Alvarado in G League camp, I think that might just shut the door on a return to campus, don't you think?
Yeah, if again, this is all speculation on my part, but if he's in G League camp, it's one, acknowledging that he's not going probably in the top 2 rounds for the NBA, and two, that the pros seem to be the ideal destination for him. So
Go
at any
get
level.
that money, son.
I'm sad,
Go get that money.
Oh, you know what?
Well, I mean, it's the thought of that team, right? There's a thought of a 2021 Georgia team with Jose Alvarado and Michael DeVoe as super seniors on it, and then a bunch of the incoming talent that this team has. So it feels, or it could have been, like a run it back year, especially building off of the season that they had. And also you have UNC breaking in a new coach. You have Duke sending off its old coach and potentially breaking in a new one. Or it's starting to break in a new one. Rest of the conference is still kind of in flux, right? Virginia didn't have that great of a year last year. I mean, and if you looked at in terms of record and in terms of performances, FSU is also up and down. So, I mean, Syracuse making it as far as they did in the tournament is Jim Boeheim stuff right there. But it's a Jim Boeheim special. But when you look at what the roster could have been with Alvarado, and even if Wright decided to pull back out of the NBA draft, you sort of have this feeling of, man, what could that look like, especially against, a normal year of competition.
Yeah. And yes, the running it back is a very real, thing to get sad and wistful about. But I'm already thinking about when this quite frankly, it was not so long ago that this team was virtually unwatchable most games, except for Jose Alvarado, who was the heart and soul of the team and a great reason to tune in because you never knew what he was going to do. And I loved Josh Okogie. I loved watching him play, but I don't think he had he was only here for 2 years and not 4 like Jose, but it wasn't the same, like seeing him go, I was like, dang, he was really good. I'm sorry to see him go. But Jose Alvarado feels different. I love Jose Alvarado.
Well, the thing is for you, Jose Alvarado was here for all of your time on campus, more or less.
Yeah, except that first year.
But at the same time, you still got 4 years of Jose Alvarado, right? You only got 1 year of Josh Okogie. You only got the back end year.
2.
Okay. Really bad with the details today.
I'm not that young. I remember
my point is that you've had one of these guys has had an opportunity to make a larger impact on your hit time watching Georgia Tech basketball than the other. Is my point.
Yeah. I don't know. It just disappoints me that other people won't get to love. I feel like he's the most grind out player in any sport that I've gotten the privilege to watch on a regular basis. And if he got that opportunity to play on an NBA team, he has the will to win that is so strong that I think that alone he would make it. Maybe that's crazy, but I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, draft is a little bit. G League is pretty competitive in terms of how many minutes there are to compete for. So we'll see.
I guess it's better than getting buried on a bench and never hearing from him again. But I don't know. Hopefully he lands somewhere where he can, one, make some money, build the name, build the brand, and hopefully be on a team that's seriously considered. He's a short guy, and you can't really fix being short, but the will to win and the talent is there, I think.
I think he has the benefit of coming into a professional league after Stephen Curry, right?
Yeah.
And having that height, the idea that height doesn't necessarily affect your ability to play and your ability to move and pass and cut. And so I think he'll benefit from that. But obviously, it's a wait and see game, right? He has to go through camp. He has to be signed to a roster. We'll see. I think he has a really good shot. Well, I mean, obviously we're biased, but I think he has a really good shot to stick in the G League And who knows if it's on G League, he could always go abroad and tear it up like a bunch of other alums have.
Is Ben Lammer still abroad? I don't even know. I should look that
I
up.
do believe he's still abroad in Spain.
Let's see. Ben Lammers, American professional basketball player. Let's see.
Does it list his official nickname as the Laminator?
Benjamin William Lammers. Well, the more you know. He's playing for Alba Berlin in the Basketball Bundesliga. Let's see. Who else is in the Basketball Bundesliga? Anyone that Akshay would chill for. All right. We got Hamburg Towers, Bros Bamberg, Medi Bayreuth, the Berlin team that Ben Lammers is on. They play at Mercedes-Benz Arena, the biggest arena in the Bundesliga.
Wow, biggest by a margin. Wow.
Yes. A team from Bonn, Braunschweig, Chemnitz, Kreilsheim, Frankfurt, Gleissen, Göttingen, Ludwigsburg, Wiesenfels. These are a lot of small towns on here, really.
Look, Bayern Munich versus Bayern Munich is inevitable. Wait, who's the defending champion? Okay, it's Alba Berlin as the defending champion, but it would be incredibly funny if Bayern Munich was also champion of this league.
What the?
Incredible.
A cowbell just fell off my desk.
We're keeping that in, by the way.
Yeah. For anyone who knows me and has seen me at a swim meet, yes, it's that cowbell. All right, are we going to be shills? Are we going to be Alba Berlin bandwagon fans?
Okay, well, we're going to have to take this offline so I can look up their jersey and then decide if I want to be a fan.
Wait, but he got the ring. He was on the team that won in 2021. Good for him. Ben Lammers has a national championship. Boom.
Did he win the league or did he win the domestic cup? This is important.
German league champion. Basketball Bundesliga.
Okay. They did not win the domestic cup, which pretty cringe, not gonna lie.
There's a domestic cup in basketball?
It's set up the exact same way as soccer.
I don't know how European basketball works. I don't even know how European soccer works half the time.
We'll have a conversation. We'll take this offline. We'll circle back to it.
Honestly, thinking about it, the Laminator was probably the Jose Alvarado for me of that team, but in a very different way.
Okay, I'm not really gonna understand what you mean by that, so we're gonna move on to happy news. Happy women's basketball news. Walk-on Anisa Clark was awarded a full scholarship earlier this week, so congrats to her.
Yes, well deserved. Every time in every sport at every school that something like that happens, just makes my day.
Yeah, the video is very fun. It's very heartwarming. If you need some good vibes, go check it out. Moving right along, because Mr. Grant has used a lot of our time today on talking about German pro basketball. Let's talk about Kevin Parada and on the baseball team and his awards. He was named to the Team USA Collegiate National Team, just like I think it was Luke Waddell a couple of years ago. And then he was also an ABCA Rawlings All-Region player. So two big honors, I think, there.
Yep.
And we talked last week about how he deserved it. I mean, he was named to the All-ACC first team as a freshman last year. I think
this year
it was last week. He was named last week to this year's team, is what I meant to say. But real good at what he does. So he deserves it.
Yep. We get the joy of watching him play for 2 more years. So enjoy it while it's here.
And then he gets drafted by ? It'll probably be like the Cubs or something with the first overall pick by then.
Whoa, don't put that evil on me.
First overall want Kevin Parada on your team or not?
I don't want the first overall pick. That means we don't sign any of our boys to extensions, and I lose Javi and Chris and Anthony, and then I'd be sad. But we'd lose at least 1 or 2 anti-vaxxers. So it's really a coin flip. We get closer to that 85%, but Javi is vaccinated. So then maybe that would drop us below 85%.
Okay, you're gaming this out too hard.
Yeah.
I will leave you to have that existential sporting crisis offline.
Yeah, I'm trying to cover the pain of losing 3 amazing players by memeing about it.
That'll hurt. Let's talk about other memes. The Toddcast was up this past week with a lot of information about NIL. You listened to the entire episode. You took some notes. What can you tell us?
Taking notes, that's generous. 3 main things that resonated with me. They talked about NIL. They talked about the GPA stuff that we already touched on. And they talked about the Director's Cup, which we rambled on quite a bit last week. So for that reason, I will spend the most time here talking about the NIL. But there's really one takeaway. And this kind of surprised me to hear it. In that Todd and Andy basically went over the fact that Tech already did all the entrepreneur training, LLC taxes as part of the total person program, but now they're actually getting a lot more interest in some of these trainings.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also they set up the 4-week program, and we're for this month, right? And we're in week 2 or 3 of it at this stage. So I guess they've taken that interest and stratified it or codified it into an actual program, an actual definable, measurable program here before the introduction of Georgia's NIL law, which is on July 1st.
Yeah. And it does give them some more eyes on already legitimate programs and I thought this was really interesting. How he kind of pivoted from that into talking about CreateX and working with them. As somebody who took CreateX senior design and has several takes on it, but one of which being it's a fairly interesting resource that I don't hear as much talked about at other places. Obviously, the rest of the ACC does do the whole conference adventure now, but in terms of what the entrepreneur economy or whatever buzzword type stuff that people use, Georgia Tech has got it. Yeah, we don't have as many local car dealerships or local shops probably that would want to do as many deals, but in terms of the big fish, I feel like the floor, this is now me vamping a little bit, I feel like the floor is higher, or the floor may be lower, but the ceiling is higher. There we go. In terms of the opportunities you can get with NIL at Tech. And that's me being a realist. I don't want to say because we don't have Joe Schmo's food place or whatever that wants to have, Jeff Sims as its spokesman or something, that it's not going to happen. But I do think that that we have a lot of high leverage opportunities being in Atlanta and the culture that we already have at Tech.
Are you saying that NIL will be 404 the culture for student athletes at Tech?
If it will make you happy, I will say that.
You set me up for that one.
No, I just hope that it doesn't happen like 2 ships passing in the night, take advantage, set them up for success, and hopefully that leads to success for the individuals we already have, but also the increased appeal of Georgia Tech as a concept for those who are not here yet, I think is a diplomatic way to put that.
Mm-hmm. So use it as a recruiting chip is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I can see it. All right.
Okay. Have you ever taken the plane train at ATL?
Yes, of course I've taken the plane train.
All right. When you're coming up those real big escalators, up into the baggage claim area?
Yeah, up to the concourse.
Yes. And you know how there's that huge video screen like welcoming you to Atlanta?
Yes. It is arguably my favorite part of coming home.
That should be plastered with Georgia Tech people, at least one of the slides. Like stuff like that. Like if you want to be ATL or 404 and get views, where better than to partner with than a place like the airport, or obviously companies are big too, but like I don't know. There's so many opportunities here that you don't get at a Clemson or an Auburn or
I
a
will say, I will
Tallahassee.
say one of the things at the airport is that Georgia State has invested a lot in
Yes.
advertising there.
Oh yeah.
Um, and they have the sign up, and this isn't meant to rag on them, but I do think it's a little funny. The sign that's like ranked more innovative than Stanford. There's one of those signs. I don't remember if you've seen one. It's
Yep.
like they're
I've seen
ranked
it. Like
number
top
one
three
in.
innovators. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It, again, not meant to make fun of them, but it's stuff like that, right? They are the ones advertising that they are Atlanta's local institution, but hey, there are multiple chefs in this kitchen, right?
Yeah.
So investing in that sort of advertising, investing in, you know, it doesn't have, like you're saying, it doesn't have to be a car dealership. It doesn't have to be a restaurant. I mean, there are other schools that will corner the market on the car dealership bit, right? Every Ford will be plastered with a Georgia recruit's signature if they
Mm-hmm.
really want to get those things off the shelf.
Or
But
yeah, exactly. But there's so many like things in Atlanta. There are car dealerships and you know restaurants and bars and but there's also Centennial Olympic Park and the Carter Center and all sorts of things that are frankly a bigger deal than anything you're going to find in a lot of other places.
yeah.
On that, I think something we haven't touched on yet is social media,
Oh yeah. Some of these guys
which
will make a lot of money with being influencers. They'll make a
whoa,
lot of money.
and some of these athletes that are particularly active on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. As somebody who's not really active on uh, Instagram other than following some like friends and stuff or Twitter outside the uh, I guess the Spencer Hall home field apparel whatever sphere of Twitter that's called.
The vortex of college football internet is, I
Yes.
think, how I would like to call it.
Yes. I wouldn't say that I'm the best to know if we have anybody like that on the team already, but I'm sure somewhere on Georgia Tech's campus there's at least one athlete with some notable following, either for their sport or for something tangential like streaming or fashion or something like that.
So just to add a little bit of color to this, I've heard a little bit in passing about some athletes being streaming on Twitch. Like Twitch is an area of monetization if you're into playing Warzone, or let's say you're even into breaking down your own film on Twitch for other people to learn from. Stuff like that might be super interesting to do, right? And that's a way to get some revenue. Um, I mean, speaking of TikTok, like the women's basketball team and I think the volleyball team were also huge on posting to TikTok this past year. So
All
they
right.
have the staff. They have the
You've
staff
given
to
me
generate that idea,
You've
like
given me
ideas for
the
that.
perfect excuse here, my guy, to open a project I've been working on, and we can talk about it a little bit. I've realized at this point I am terrible at writing the features I've been trying to write. Do you want to dive a little bit into Georgia Tech social media as it stands, or no?
You get 5 minutes
All right.
before we move on and have to wrap things up.
Yes.
I
Okay.
am
Fine.
actually starting a timer, by the way.
Georgia Tech social media. Over the last semester, I have been tracking a couple times. The latest update was at the end of May. The growth that we've seen on various platforms of Georgia Tech sports as sports have come back. And I would say, and I think you'd agree, that this was a pretty successful semester for our teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Across all platforms, or well, the three that I tracked: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Sorry, so not not Snapchat, not TikTok or anything like that. But I tried to get the big three. Georgia Tech saw appreciable growth in all but two specific platforms, and that is the General Athletics Facebook page and the General Football Facebook page. Everything else saw substantial growth, led by the women's basketball team across all three platforms, up more than 100 or up more than, let's see what the sum number is. More than 2,500 follows. They're up more than 30% on Instagram. They join baseball, men's basketball, cross country and track, and softball, all approaching 20% growth on that platform. And we're hitting a point, man, where across all of our 17 sports, which doesn't quite add up to, I guess, 17 pages because you combine swimming and diving and whatnot, and the tracks and the cross countries. We're approaching 700,000 people following all of those accounts combined. That is pretty good saturation and pretty good growth over a 3-month span, when at the beginning of me tracking this, they only had about, 650,000? That is 50,000 is a lot of eyeballs of people that signed up to pay better attention to tech. So I think that whatever's happening, Twitter and Instagram are going real well for almost all of our teams, Instagram in particular. And that is probably, I guess, the most visually impactful of the mediums, right?
I mean, considering that it is, pictures, yes,
Yeah.
I would say it's visually impactful.
Exactly. Very
you missed the dry humor, but yes.
Yeah. Very interestingly, men's basketball isn't our second most followed program.
Question mark?
Baseball leads basketball on Twitter and Instagram, both by pretty substantial margins. Softball actually has the third most Twitter follows with 21,000. So basketball is trailing softball on Twitter clout, I guess, that's surprising. And basketball also trails volleyball on Instagram.
There's a lot of social media analytics at play here. What did you say your job description was again? I thought
Customer
it was
success consultant. Healthcare consulting, man. Ugh.
Lots of numbers for a healthcare consultant. All right. You used up 3.5 minutes.
Hey,
I'm proud of you. You kept it short.
I threw out the interesting tidbits.
Okay. You're good at summarizing and, executive summaries. That's what a consultant does. Okay. You wanna take us home with our last news tidbit of the week?
Well, we didn't even hit the Director's Cup, which I guess we can unpack later. But we'll do that once the spring results come in. The last news tidbit we have of the week is technically one that we never got explicit permission to talk about, but it's on the campus map, so people are going to find it at some point. The Ramblin' Rec Garage, a project that we talked about, what was that, 2 years ago on this podcast?
At least we talked about it on a podcast. I think we put forward a public request for donations on the site. But it is it's a reality. It's a thing now. It has its own item on the map.
Yep. There's a campus map, and the Ramblin' Rec Garage will be somewhere between First Drive and this new Student Center edition over by the Transit Hub. No finalized design yet, but all the preliminary renderings show it's very glassy, which is a joy. Honestly, for that not to be secret and hidden and sus anymore, I think is fantastic for people feeling that the car that they have ownership over actually belongs to them.
I mean, it's the first time in a while. I think the first time in most of the Rec's history that it'll be on display. right? And when we were talking about this plan in the meetings that we had, it was like, okay, we're gonna have the rec as the centerpiece of the campus center project. It gets its own space. It's where tours are gonna start from. It's where we, you know, it's on display in front of God and everyone more or less, and it creates this sense of ownership amongst the student body. It creates a sense of ownership amongst fans instead of it being hidden away, locked in a vault, and the key thrown away, or the
Wow.
key given to specific people effectively. Right. And I think drivers in recent years have done a really good job of, making sure that the rec is visible on campus. But yeah, you can't get more visible than putting it in a display case when it's not being used. Right. And,
Yeah.
and obviously, I know the first thing that people are going to think of is, well, if you put a glass door on it, isn't it going to get broken into? Well, I'm sure that school is going to handle that appropriately and put into effective safety measures. So overall, I'm really happy to see this come to fruition. It's not like I've been actively working on it, but I know um, we have a couple of friends that have been involved in the process, and it's really good to see some of that hard work come to reality.
Yeah. The one thing I will say, it was, as the two of us have been involved in this for a while, seeing it, because originally the space was intended to be in the ground floor of the campus center construction, and seeing that get value engineered out of the project was definitely a wow.
Frustrating.
I guess Georgia Tech doesn't care, or like, I don't know, like it was tough because that was something that I felt benefited every student, and I guess the admin didn't necessarily agree, but it being in its own space, I think ultimately is kind of better because it stands apart from being, tucked inside the campus center, and instead can be out on the lawn. So
Hmm.
things worked out is what I'm trying to say, and
Yeah.
getting it detached, like monetarily, like the club having go raise awareness and trying to get donations and stuff rather than being included. Hey, maybe that's just part of the price that had to be paid in order to make it happen.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think one of the really good parts of that is, the plan was approved, especially when you're putting these plans against the Board of Regents, which, as we know, is not necessarily stacked in Tech's favor when it comes to budgetary constraints. Getting this one split off from the main project might, again, it's a boon, right? It obviously has to go through Board of Regents review, but it's not something that can be cut by them anymore as part of the main project. Like you said, it was already value engineered into its own separate thing. So it's good to have ownership. It's good to see it become a reality. And obviously, we haven't talked about a groundbreaking. We haven't talked about. It's not really a reality in terms of bricks in the ground or concrete in the ground, but it's only a year and a half at most until it's a thing, right? And both of us will be in town to see it. So I think that's a really, really good thing.
Yep. Um, I think to kind of wrap it up, it's one of the things that epitomizes just how much the campus has changed in the last 5-10 years.
Hmm.
And like some of the stuff that we talk about on and off the podcast, on and off the site, are really nitty gritty. Tear out parking lots, rebuild them back as parks or buildings or usable space. Trying to think about other things. Rebuilding the library, but getting rid of the books. We could
Tearing
dive.
out the north end zone of the stadium and turning it into a party deck.
Yes. And or like capping the Midtown connector, blah blah blah. All this stuff. I think this, for how small the footprint the building is going to have, is going to go a long way towards just campus ownership of
Yeah.
I don't know. Even friends I had when I was at Tech, that I had known for years, felt disconnected from the car and like maybe that's on me for not being like, hey, it's yours too. We want to help you use it, but like, you know,
But
if
it's not.
it's not
I
so
think it's a
strict,
two.
it's better.
It's a two-part problem, right? It's the car's like again stuffed away in a vault in some unknown location. That's a part of the problem. And then it's the other part of the problem is that because it's stuffed away in an unknown location, when you have to know when it comes out, you have to have a schedule of events. You have to, you have to keep track of it. But now you can just walk past the building, see that it's in there, and take your pictures and read up on some of the history, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of things that you can do when it's its own space, when it's out in public. Obviously, again, that comes with a bunch of risks, especially when you're talking about away game or away fans or delinquents on campus or coming into campus, et cetera, et cetera. But you assume that safety measures are in place and everything, everything will be kosher.
And also the little stuff like just washing the car and getting it out for photo ops, and the fact that when it comes and goes from wherever it's parked to wherever it's going,
it's public. It's
now
all public
from
now.
the start. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not coming out again. It's not coming out of a vault for special occasions. It's there. It's a part of campus. It is a visible part of campus. It's a visible part, part or a visible student-owned part of campus. And like you're saying, that's the important bit.
Yep.
Okay, I think we've beat that dead horse as far as we can. Don't you think?
Yep, I would agree.
All right, everyone, we will see you next week. Thanks for listening.